Hay bales, bunting and bare feet, inside Carrie and Boris Johnson's secret surprise festival chic wedding where the bride wore a £2,870 Costello's dress and flowers in her hair, and even the PM's closest aides were kept in the dark. The first glimpses of Boris Johnson and Carrie Simon's summer festival-themed wedding emerged today as photographs showed the newlyweds gazing into each other's eyes. Sweet images taken at the reception in the Downing Street garden were released after No 10 finally confirmed that the couple tied a knot in a small ceremony at Westminster Cathedral yesterday afternoon, with a bigger celebration planned for next summer. One photograph shows Simons wearing a flowing white £2,870 lace gown by Costello's and a garland of white flowers in her hair as she looks lovingly at her new husband in the sunlit garden. Mr. Johnson, in a smart dark suit, appears to have brushed his unruly hair for the occasion, although his tie is slightly askew and he is not wearing a wedding ring. Another tweeted by Tory MPs gives a more relaxed impression of the reception, with the barefoot bride, now to be known as Mrs. Johnson, cuddling her beau who has unbuttoned his shirt collar and rolled up his sleeves. Bunting and bales of hay are visible in the background, suggesting a Glastonbury-esque summery theme, which will have been helped by London basking in the first hot weather for months. The event was the subject of an extraordinary cloak and dagger operation to keep it quiet. Aides spent hours refusing to comment on the Catholic service before it was revealed by the Mail on Sunday. Aerial photographs show a marquee and gazebo in the famous garden, with photographs from the past week showing that the marquee has been used in official functions such as a climate business drive. However, No 10 refused to say whether Mr. Johnson had paid to use the facility for his own private celebration, insisting they were not getting into the details. Ministers, Tory MPs and Keir Starmer have been congratulating the Premier on his nuptials, although some Labour MPs have been less gracious and claimed the timing was an effort to bury bad news about COVID. A Downing Street spokesman said, "The Prime Minister and Simons were married yesterday afternoon in a small ceremony at Westminster Cathedral. The couple will celebrate their wedding with family and friends next summer." Simons, 33, was wearing a £2,870 Costello's embroidered tulle gown with tiered skirt, fitted bodice, bell sleeves and lattice-work trims for the big day. Mr. Johnson, 56, was the first Prime Minister to marry in office since Lord Liverpool joined forces with Mary Chester in 1822. It comes just 6 days after the couple, who became engaged on the Caribbean island of Mystique in December 2019 and have baby Wilfred, aged 1, sent out save-the-date cards to guests telling them to keep Saturday, July 30, 2022 free for a marriage celebration. Despite sending out the cards, the couple are understood to have been secretly planning the small ceremony for 6 months, with questions about whether the save-the-date cards were used to help throw people off the scent. Under current COVID rules there is a limit of 30 guests at weddings, although the cap is expected to be lifted on June 21, Freedom Day, when most restrictions are set to be lifted. With Mr. Johnson pegged to be back at work next week, it looks unlikely the couple, who will make their debut appearance as husband and wife at the G7 summit in June, will have a honeymoon. 1-year-old Wilfred attended the wedding, as did 2 official witnesses. Simons shared a picture of their son yesterday in a field of bluebells, which some speculated was a nod to the tradition of something blue. Mr. Johnson's siblings Rachel, Joe and Leo Johnson are also understood to have attended, along with his father Stanley. The PM's top advisors in No. 10 were said to be astonished that the secret wedding had taken place. It is understood Simons will take her husband's surname and be known as Carrie Johnson. The photographic credit on the image released by Downing Street is to Rebecca Fulton. She is thought to be a professional wedding photographer, whose website says prices start at £2,300 for a full-day wedding. During COVID, many couples have held a small marriage ceremony with just close friends, while arranging a larger celebration for after the end of all restrictions. The 30 guests were invited at the last minute, with only a handful of church officials involved in the preparations for the service at 2 p.m. yesterday. Armed police stood guard as visitors were ushered out half an hour earlier by staff who told them the building was going into lockdown. M. Simons wore a white dress, without a veil, for the ceremony and walked down the aisle to the strains of classical music. They kissed after exchanging their vows for Father Daniel Humphreys, who baptized Wilfred into the faith at the same cathedral last autumn. He also gave the newlyweds their pre-marriage instructions. Last night, Cathedral chaplain Father Michael Donaghy admitted even he didn't know the identity of the VIP bride and groom until it was all over. He said, "It's been kept very confidential." One witness told how the party was bundled into a car after leaving the cathedral. M. Simons is a practicing Catholic. Mr. Johnson was also baptized as a Catholic, a first for a sitting PM. A Westminster Cathedral spokesperson told the Sunday Times, on Saturday 29th of May, the wedding of Carrie Simons and Boris Johnson took place in Westminster Cathedral. The bride and groom are both parishioners of the Westminster Cathedral parish and baptized Catholics. All necessary steps were taken, in both church and civil law, and all formalities completed before the wedding. Mr. Johnson had earlier abandoned his mother's Catholicism, becoming an Anglican while at Eton. Regular worshippers at the cathedral said today they were honored and pleased to learn of his marriage as they attended Sunday Mass. Christopher Goodyear, a witness protection officer in the Metropolitan Police Homicide Division, said the news of Boris Johnson's marriage was interesting, adding, "I hope he keeps his trousers on." Mr. Goodyear, 64, from Chelsea, said, "The Prime Minister getting married here is interesting. I presume it's the wife who's the Catholic as he's been married many times before. It's nice to have a Prime Minister who's Catholic, so good luck to them." When asked what remarrying within the Catholic faith meant to members of the congregation, he said, "He hadn't been married to a Catholic before so I wasn't really that bothered. He's now married in the Catholic Church so he can't get married again. If he does then that invalidates everything. So let's hope he keeps his trousers on and behaves himself." An image of the Virgin Mary and baby Jesus appears above the altar in the cathedral's Lady Chapel, where the couple were wed. One guest described M. Simons as looking extremely happy and Mr. Johnson as very smart and dapper. He didn't take his eyes off her. A marquee was later spotted in the Downing Street garden, with reports of guests singing Don McLean's hit American Pie. Big Issue seller Adrian Richmond, 52, who was in the area at the time of the wedding, told The Sun, "Somebody I recognize came out of a service there earlier in the day and said, 'You won't believe who's getting married here later.' He said, 'It's Boris Johnson.' My jaw nearly dropped to the floor. This is smack bang in central London." He added the PM deserved some happiness after going through so much with his coronavirus hospitalization last year. Johnson as very smart and dapper, he didn't take his eyes off her. A marquee was later spotted in the Downing Street garden, with reports of guests singing Don McLean's hit American Pie. Big issue seller Adrian Richmond, 52, who was in the area at the time of the wedding, told The Sun, "Somebody I recognize came out of a service there earlier in the day and said, 'You won't believe who's getting married here later.' He said, 'It's Boris Johnson.' My jaw nearly dropped to the floor. This is smack bang in central London." He added the PM deserved some happiness after going through so much with his coronavirus hospitalization last year.